Hey friends, criminal defense attorney Ryan Pacyga, and today I wanted to teach you about how getting to know the person can make a difference in a criminal case. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're trying to figure out which lawyer to choose, or maybe you've already got a lawyer and you're part of the way through your case. How can the lawyer getting to know the person and not just the case make a difference in your case? I've got over 20 years of experience in defending people accused of crimes, and I've learned some things along the way. And that's one of the things that I think are important for lawyers to do for people, and that I think some lawyers aren't doing for people, but you need to have that happening in your case, and I'll tell you why. A lot of times there's three parts of a case, if you will, right? There's the accuser's version, and the accusers might be an alleged victim in a case or the police or whatever. And then you've got the defendant's version. That's the person who's charged with the crime. And then you've got the rest of the story. And what do I mean by the rest of the story? What I mean is not where some people say the truth is somewhere in the middle. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when someone gets a criminal case, we're talking about this much of their life. In other words, it's a DWI and it's this an hour of their life, or they're caught with a bunch of drugs and it's this few days of their life where they were arrested and now they got a case going on, right? Or something like that. They were engaged in a fraud with their employer for 6 months. That's that much of their life. What about all of their life before that? And what about what life might look for like after the case, right? What about any of that? Does that matter? I think it really does. I'll give you an example. I had a case recently in Minnesota where a woman was pulled over for a very trivial kind of reason. It was a legal reason for the police to pull her over, but it was sort of ticky tacky, right? So it would be like an example of going 42 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone. Police don't pull people over for that. But they have a right to if they want to, and even if they don't pull most people over for it, if they want to pull you over for that and they want to pick on you for it, they can do it. That's a legal reason if it's a traffic violation, even if it's one they usually let slide, okay? So it was a ticky-tacky reason for that, and we had filed a motion to suppress the traffic stop and the evidence found in the car, which was over 150 grams of methamphetamine. And you might think, well, hold on a minute. Now, wait. We had a reason to. It was an iffy traffic stop. We could attack that, try to get the case thrown out. If we win on the traffic stop issue, the case would be thrown out. Once police stopped her, they went to the passenger side window of the car, and in plain view, they could see a bag of drugs, and so it all went downhill from there, right? Well, looking at the case, of course, the prosecutors wanted this person to go to prison for many years. And I was like, well, isn't there a better way to handle this? I mean, I don't think, based on my experience in fighting a lot of cases, and I've had cases thrown out. I know what to do to get them thrown out when the facts are there. And I'm also not afraid to go to trial. I enjoy going to trial, and I've had a good amount of success doing it. But not every lawyer can win every case, and sometimes the evidence is so bad that it'd be a terrible idea to go to trial. Let's be real about it, right? Well, what do we do? If we're not going to win a motion hearing, but we're going to have it just because the offer isn't so good, and we could go to trial out of spite, but then they might even get more time. Well, what do you do with that situation, right? Well, what do you think should happen to this person? 150 grams of methamphetamine, that's a lot, right? It's some money in the car. It looks to everybody else like this is a drug dealer, right? Well, in getting to know the client and not just the facts of the case, I wanted to go into her whole background. Take me through your life history. I want to know these things because I'm trying to fit together, how did you get to this point, right? And that you tell me if you think this makes a difference. So she's born outside of the United States, all right? She's in a territory of the United States. So she's a U.S. citizen. She's not an illegal immigrant or anything. But she's a U.S. citizen, although she's born in a territory, right? And at age 12, her mother takes her and her 4 siblings to the continental United States. She lives in another state for a while. Dad stays behind in this territory. So now she's a 12-year-old girl, no dad anymore, basically a single mom at that point. And she's the oldest of 4 siblings, right? And she's age 12. And they're hopping around from state to state for a while and living in some crime-ridden cities in the United States. And eventually they end up here in Minnesota, right? And mom starts dating a guy who's a methamphetamine addict. And not only that, he's a domestic abuser. So he's beating the hell out of the mom in the home as this girl's now 13, 14, 15 years old, and this girl's seeing this. She completes ninth grade, and as her mom's getting beat up over and over by this guy that's a meth addict, she decides to leave the home. This girl in ninth grade, age 15, starts living on the streets. Okay? And that's a rough life for a kid to not even be able to go home. Child Protective Services was involved because mom wasn't calling the police on the guy that was beating her up. So CPS didn't even know about it, right? And these younger siblings are still going through this in the home. So the girl at age about 16 goes back to where the dad lives in another part of the world, and stays and works in the Job Corps there and doesn't even complete high school. Comes back to the United States at about age 18 and is living on the streets again and everything, still not around the home where the mom's going through this. And then at age 22 or 23 begins her methamphetamine addiction, as she's obviously, when you're using those kind of drugs, she's going through some hurt right here, and she's not wanting to feel that hurt, and that's why people turn to alcohol or drugs, because they're running from something, right? And so she's going through this, and then she gets sober for a while, for about 5 years, and then she slips back into addiction. And the way that addiction can work is that the body's tolerance goes up and up and up for substances, right? So she's buying more and more of this methamphetamine in her daily habit and using it every day. I mean, it's just dominating her life, right? To the point that on this day when she's pulled over, the large amount that she had with her looks like a dealer amount, although there's no evidence of actual dealing. But rather, the addiction got so strong that she's buying more and more and more of it as she's using more every day, and also getting paranoid about going to her dealer and buying it every day. And so she's buying it in larger amounts, so she only has to go there every couple weeks, right? And that's how that's working. Now, question, does it matter knowing that background about her or not? Some people would say, no, it doesn't matter. It's a large amount of drugs. Go to prison. I don't care what happened to you in the past. It's no excuse to have that amount of drugs on you. All right, maybe. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe there's another way to handle this that might be a win-win for society, for her, even the prosecution. And that is, rather than send her to prison for a number of years and then see what happens to her when she gets out with a felony conviction and having sat in prison, she might be right back where she started if she lives. Or another way might be to do drug court, if she can get eligible for that. Drug court is pretty rigorous. It's not just stay sober. You have to go to court multiple times a week in the beginning, and then it kind of phases down, but you have to keep testing and showing that you're clean and working through treatment and having employment and doing constructive things in your life to keep bettering your life. And if you turn back to the drugs, you can be sent back to prison for a long time, right? Those are opportunities that treatment courts or drug courts provide. Now, the prosecutor wasn't offering that. But I said, well, the judge might want to know about this person's history, because if I just go in and fight the case on this traffic stop that is ticky-tacky as I thought it was, they're probably going to lose under the law, because the law doesn't care if it's ticky-tacky as long as it's a legal reason for the police to pull her over. Then what have I done for her? I've just ran her right into a prison sentence, right? So if we can get her screened for drug court, now that I know this history about her, and we've gotten to know more and more about her, and she's doing well. She's testing clean. She's completed intensive outpatient treatment. She's had this trauma in her life that hasn't been dealt with before. Maybe she's worth taking a chance on, and keeping her on a short leash with conditions, but allowing her to work through that. And wouldn't some people say, hey, if you knew this person's history, you'd want to give them a chance to do better before just throwing them away to prison, right? Because she wants to do well, and she's showing that so far she can be doing well. So that's the value in getting to know someone. Now, there's another example to that. Well, let's say this isn't a drug case and it's a self-defense case, and let's say the person hits someone before they're being hit. Someone squares up or about ready to box each other, and they hit them quick without being hit first. Then that defendant says it was self-defense, and someone says, no, it's not self-defense. You didn't get hit first. Well, what if this defendant, if you got to learn about their past and you learned that they had a prior brain injury, from a time that they had been assaulted, and their head is very fragile now. Would you understand more about why the person, when they thought they're about to be hit and someone goes like this, hit first? Because they know that if they get hit in the head with their prior brain injury that they have, that they might die from a hit. Does that matter? These are some of the valuable things that can be known when a lawyer takes the time to not just get to know the case, which is important to do, but to get to know the person as well, because you or your loved one are more than just the case. You're more than just the case. You've got a life history there that's worth getting to know. It helps us lawyers learn to advocate for you, what's important to you for you, what can we tell about your story, whether it's to the prosecutor, to the judge to ask for a better sentence, or to a jury if you go to a trial. What's important about your history that we need to get out there and help us understand why you're doing what you're doing or what you're thinking or what you're concerned with. It takes more time and work to do that, but it's invaluable to do. And that's why getting to know the person and not just the case can make such a difference. So I wanted to give that tip to you if you're helping someone choose a lawyer, or if you yourself are even halfway through your case and you're going, my lawyer hasn't asked me about me yet. We're talking about the facts of the case a lot, but not about me. These are important things that may make, I think often do and should make a difference in your case. So I hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you did, or if you're thinking about other video topics that would be helpful for you to know. Let me know. I like helping people. I'm criminal defense attorney Ryan Pacyga. You can find me at arrestedmn.com, or you can call me at 612-339-5844.